Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. The onslaught of the communist masters of deceit.
Bingo. Comma. Slutz. Bingo. Comma. Slutz. Bingo. Comma. Slutz. Bingo. Comma. Slutz.
We're recording. What?
What? Ow.
Yeah. Welcome
Welcome.
to Pinko Kami Sotsa. We're all here. How's everyone doing? It is
What date is it?
the weekend after the Beaver Moon.
Yep.
I'm going to say it again, guys. It's the weekend after the Beaver Moon. There was an eclipse as well, a lunar eclipse.
The boring eclipse.
Yeah, I guess.
What
We
was
do have
boring
a
about
solar
it?
eclipse coming up. I don't know if we can see it from where we are, though.
Battle in heavens makes day into night. Lunar eclipse is battle in heaven makes night into other night.
Yeah.
It sometimes makes the moon look weird.
Yeah,
Can have a
cool.
certain color
That's
glow.
almost like changing day to night and making us question the existence of a loving God
Black
as
hole
darkness
sun,
covers all
won't you
of us.
come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, won't you come? Black hole sun, black hole sun. Dun 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 dun. All right, we're warmed up. This is
I got my URL out.
R.I.P. to a real one.
I seem to recognize.
That's a different Jarl.
You're
That's
dead.
Well, who died? What?
Chris Cornell,
Cornell
died,
died,
and
like,
I'm
years
still
ago.
mourning it.
I was just, I thought,
Been in mourning of Chris Cornell.
I'm still in that space where
You know
whenever
what?
I
If you
think
would have
about
asked me very suddenly if Chris Cornell was still alive, I would have been like, So thanks. I would have.
Yeah, no,
I
I was
haven't
Steve's
thought of
roommate
that,
at the
yeah.
time, which means I have trauma too.
it. Yeah, transferred drama. I was sad for like 2 weeks after it happened. I never experienced that with a person I never met before.
But anyway, the point is he didn't call it Black Hole Moon because those are boring.
Yeah, and the music video for that show.
A moon can't become a black hole, Marlo.
Yeah, a moon can't
he
do
was
a
just
lot
being
of things. It's a
scientific
lesser
about
god.
it.
Yeah,
It's a lesser
Excuse
deity.
me. It has to be a star imploding. It can't be a moon.
and I don't think
moon can't become a sun. They are two different things.
I don't think our sun could be a black hole either. It's not
Yeah,
big enough.
it's below the thing that they say.
Yeah, it would
science.
become like a dwarf or a.
It'll do something else. I forget
So
what
you know
it'll
what?
do.
That's right, people. Get it out of your minds that we're
Yeah.
going to enjoy a real cool
We're calling you
suck
out.
into a black hole apocalypse. No, we're going to have a white dwarf situation where the sun's just going to dim out and it's
Yeah.
going to get real cold.
Actually, I think
everybody
it
go die.
goes red giant.
We're
I
going to
don't
die
know.
before that, guys. That's hilarious. We
forget.
are on the way.
But
Did you guys
anyway.
watch Finch?
Finch?
It's a Tom Hanks movie where it's like after a climate disaster, and there's a robot, and it's
okay.
whatever. But the depiction of the climate disaster was, I felt, very realistic in a way that bummed me out.
I did see that black comedy
no hope.
where Tom Hanks goes to get himself sacrificed in the volcano. That was fun.
Okay,
It's a good movie. Underrated.
Joe versus the volcano.
Climate change disaster movies, though. The best one is for me, WALL-E. Obviously, that's the realistic universe that I always live in. Is the future where WALL-E exists.
Oh, where the fat phobic.
Yeah, everyone.
The one where dudes are just vibing until that robot ruins their thing.
Well, that robot was vibing on Earth, and he was also in love with Eva.
Yeah, I also saw the movie, Stephen. You do not need to.
Well, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience.
Okay.
I'm talking to the people that want to feel the soothing pleasure of nostalgia for 2000.
So Steve's going to do a scene by scene of all of WALL-E.
Well, there's the time that he meets the robot, and the robot clinks him, and they fall in love, and he goes, and then he goes and escapes the planet. All right, we're done with this. And then
a lot of other things happen in that movie too.
Al Gore comes on at the end and is like, "We should fight climate. We should open a lockbox and fight climate change."
Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, I remember that. I watched it with my grandpa.
I just remember I saw it in the lounge at TW in TCNJ, like junior year of college.
Junior year. Why were you in the lounge of the freshman dorms?
Because that's where they had the movie showing.
Okay, Steven.
Or maybe it was freshman year. But anyways, they had WALL-E playing, and I was like, why is Al Gore on the screen?
Anyway, speaking of...
Oh, I saw it on purpose.
I saw it on purpose. I mean, I saw the movie on purpose.
Yeah.
What? I think we all
why are you
did.
giving me side eye?
No,
right now?
I don't understand. I don't understand this very inside baseball college.
Yeah, no, I don't know why we're talking
then
about.
I'm very confused.
I don't know why we're talking about it either. Frankly, Steve led us down this road. Steve led us down this road, and now we're talking about Pixar's WALL-E from several years.
Look, we're all gonna die.
We're talking about.
I just am like bummed out that there's no plan that's like even a bad plan I could do cocaine about. You know what I mean? Like
what?
For climate change.
Yeah,
it just feels like I can't even like
do cocaine and come up with it is what you're saying?
I'm saying I can't do cocaine and be like, yeah, this is a great plan. Like this is gonna work, man. We're gonna change it. Yeah. There's nothing out there even giving us that.
I mean, maybe you should do some cocaine and see if the fires start burning.
No, I mean.
No. She's saying she wants a plan that is at least cokehead level.
Yeah, I'm saying that's not either. We don't even have that level. Earlier today, I looked on Twitter, and I think the narrative point that Kyle Rittenhouse is actually a Hispanic has come up. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not.
So when he got arrested, when the thing happened, and he got arrested. People already were like, these white guys with guns, People, somebody dredged up a ticket from 2 years prior, so like 2018 or earlier, where the cop had listed him as Hispanic, which is not a definitive.
No, that's legal. That's the state saying it.
Yeah. Also, Hispanic isn't Latino, so also it doesn't mean anything. But it's
is that
funny.
why they ask non-Hispanic white?
Yeah, Hispanic.
They don't ask you at it. This is just what the cop assumes you are. This is not.
But
yeah.
To answer your question about the census, yes, for whatever weird quirk, the United States recognizes two ethnicities as existing, which is Latino and/or Hispanic, and not Latino and/or Hispanic. I'll understand it myself, but everything else is a race.
Well, it's not just on the census. Like when I
forms.
Job application.
But anyway, Rittenhouse, a Spaniard by acclamation.
Yeah, Rittenhouse. Kyle Rodriguez Rittenhouse.
So yeah, of course, I just mean
of Iberico blood.
Yeah. Also, Spaniards. Guys, we don't have to. I don't know why this grinds my gears. People being unable to differentiate.
What grinds your gears about? Explain the grinding.
Saying someone's Hispanic doesn't mean they're not white. So it's a meaningless thing to say and it's just one of these disingenuous talking points, obviously, but they're not even doing it. They're not even doing it
many reasons
the right
beyond
way. Like
even
being a Spaniard doesn't make you not white.
Right, but also the whole effort is clearly in extremely bad faith and stupid.
Well, yeah,
as
I also
well.
think it's dumb that it's based on it's based on
and
just
also everything else about it is dumb.
yeah, it's based on just, and I don't even know how verified the story is about him getting whatever. I do know a Greek friend of mine got a ticket and it listed her as African American.
Whoa.
And I just
Fair.
am just sort of laughing at the idea that something could happen one day, and they would pull up that one ticket in the myriad of tickets she's gotten, and be like, well, this woman is black, and she's never said that or whatever, or even more hilarious if she were to be accused of blackfishing based on that, based on a cop just.
Well, that's what she puts on her like Tinder profile is that picture that lists her as that.
Look, Elizabeth Warren has made a career on less.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just like the way people think things work, like they're little blocks.
Yeah, it's also like just really stupid, bad faith shit by right-wing idiots who clearly don't
of course, but
give
I'm saying
a
there's
shit
another
about any
level
of
where
this.
a lot of people casually do think these things work this way because they are like, they're white people mostly who don't have any reason necessarily to have a more in-depth understanding of any of it.
Well,
so
and
it's,
I saw that the other side of it which was much more effective at being a propaganda piece, was how much right wingers were pissed off that like European news outlets were reporting the victims or the people that were shot by Kyle Rittenhouse as black. And that was evidence by the right wing that misinformation was being sold to these people that had no connection to the case other than it was an American
rather
case.
than Europeans are just the dumbest fucking libs on the planet.
Yeah, and
they're
it's,
even dumber
it's
than our
like
libs in
clearly
many ways.
just a mistranslation by a journalist who was like, this was a Black Lives Matter protest, who thought everyone at the protest was black because that's their cultural understanding of America.
Yeah.
And then they reported all the people.
they're like, oh, one of these again. So of course, it was just like, I don't know why it's French now.
Because they're the most racist.
Oh, it's one of these. Of course, he killed some black people because that's what they do. They go around with the gun, boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to look any further.
And so then, like, Glenn Greenwald is like, look at all these people who are reporting all this false information to fit into their liberal boxes about the reality of the racial situation.
Like, and this is where I'm like, this is such a weird. In my whole life, I never thought I'd have the Jokerification where, like, at this point in my adult life, I'm like, I would like to just fucking, like, just a real front snap kick to a face to these people. Like, I just don't sit, like, I just.
Well, it's
I'm just like, you guys should be beat up and bullied.
well, it's them.
Yeah.
It's the Young Turks. It's anyone who looks at things on this linear plane, this non-ideological thing of legality of a murder, and then
oh, technically, he did everything right to get away with this murder. I mean,
well, yeah, and that's the thing.
like that is the argument, but they like dress it up,
demonstrably dead.
And I'm like, great. Like, I too love the idea that someone could cleverly get away with a murder.
I mean, this is also what
abstract.
I don't think I said it on the podcast before, but I know I said it to you guys about just like the Kyle crying shit, like, and that like became a meme. I didn't participate in any of it just because I'm like, he's gonna get off, and frankly,
it worked.
Yeah, crying to dodge a double murder charge is not cringe at all. It's an extremely, extremely good thing to do. If you ever have a chance to cry in order to get out of a double murder charge, cry. Absolutely. It's better than getting convicted of double homicide.
Marlo.
Out of
On the
context.
side of Kyle Rittenhouse.
No, on the side of crying to. Like, on
No,
the side
yeah, absolutely. Look, absolutely. Like I brought up in episodes past, my terrible Greek friend's mom, lie till you die. Never admit you did that shit. If they caught you, fucking cry. Boo-hoo. Do it. Except if you're a woman, because it won't matter.
Go out.
I mean, I'm on the
You
side.
could be a woman who self-defended against her abuser.
Go.
You're in jail, bitch, or you're dead. They already killed you.
I'm on the side of he fucking won, and that sucks. And
Well,
you should
I mean, he won
acknowledge that fucking sucks that he won.
Well, what did he
Look,
win?
you're
He won.
contractually obligated as a law person.
He won. He won
To feel
the
that way
game
in some
theft
level.
auto kill that he got, which was essentially like, I know all the rules of when I can legally kill somebody. I go into a situation when I get the chance to legally kill somebody. I
That's
kill
what he
somebody, and then I legally get away with it. So
Yep.
that's the game theft auto, the world that he was living in, and
Yeah, no, and it fucking sucks, and this is a terrible system, and you shouldn't expect any
Not
good of it.
available to all avatars.
I will say that I very much the night of I went to the rally, and we marched over the Brooklyn Bridge, and there weren't any issues from the police. It was about 100 people, and I will say that I did legitimately have hope from that march, just from the speeches from the organizers and the people who were there. It was very much a movement building march that recognized the inherent hopelessness of trying to affect change from within. They absolutely used socialism and anti-capitalism in their speeches by name. One speaker even denigrated the idea of relying on black businesses and that mentality. There, was not a liberal in sight. There was 100 people there, most of them non-white, but
come and see the violence inherent to the system.
they were less afraid to say anti-capitalism, socialism, communism that night than
Any of the Black Lives Matter.
Well, no, then Occupy Wall Street, then the ostensibly vaguely anti-capitalist, but don't say that, like, oh, this is about economic inequality movement
1%
from years back.
The David Graeber.
Yeah, this fucking namby-pamby thing from years back that ostensibly was organized on the locus of income inequality as such, it was far more afraid to concretely say anything either negative about the status quo or positive about alternatives than this so-called id poll march that occurred over what is on the surface an injustice of race that liberals are often happy to claim doesn't have any deeper meaning than that, and that many in the left space want to sweep away as saying, oh, that's not actually about socialism. I will say that anti-capitalism occurs where the contradictions occur, and you can't manufacture we're going to have our anti-capitalism march today. What you can do is say, this is a fucked up system and it's going to create unrest.
And the clear contradiction that I keep going back to that you can't get away from is that his justification for all of this was going to protect private property with a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go defend the storefront of Dunkin' Donuts or the gas station.
When they kill black people, they use the language of private property.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what happened.
And that's how you know it's a liberal defense.
Yeah,
is
liberals or the, fucking so-called, like, class reductionist left or whatever the fuck they want to call themselves today, where it's just like they bifurcate the issues in the exact same ways.
Yeah.
It is, dare I say, undialectical.
It is extremely undialectical. And the thing is, it's like private property is the contradiction that was in this. He went in and literally his entire defense was, I went in as a medic and I only had a gun because I was defending private property.
And it is strange that in a capitalist system, killing over a supposed property crime that also was motivated by race leads to a, movement that is on the surface about race, but then spills back into this
private property
violent outbreak that is spoken about in the language of private property as well.
People like to do opposite day arguments. So it's not as if there was a black person claiming to be defending private property that they would necessarily.
Absolutely, and none of what I was to say was to say.
Oh no, absolutely. I wasn't trying to infer that. It's just like interesting to me. I guess what I keep coming back to.
They work together.
Yeah, is that there's this pretense of a perfect logic, and like when people do this sort of. I'm not being conservative. I'm just seeing the facts of the case.
I watched it happen, and it seemed like somebody aimed a gun at him, and he fired.
He had a right to have a gun, and it's just like, okay. But then you want to go, whoa, this makes me mad. Then, like, do I have a right to have a gun? Like, no, bitch, you don't. Like, it's just not. I brought it up a little while ago. Jesus Christ, these dogs. They don't. I'm getting riled up. They are also riled up.
You're making them hot.
I brought it up before, but, self-defense, hilariously, not really an accessible defense for women who attack or kill their abusers.
Wasn't there just a case in Kenosha?
Famously so. And and as somebody who dealt with a domestic violence experience, it's like I joke, because I got the gallows humor, y'all. I joke that, like, what? I was going to call the police, and then what? Take my chance that then I'm going to jail on some sort of whoopsie daisy. Actually, bitch, you did something wrong, and now technically you're the aggressor. Or the police kill him. And I'm like, if anybody gets to, it's me, It's a joke. But the feeling of like, calling the cops, you thought that was like a thing that I thought could help me in any context, especially.
Well, you and I were talking about this the other day, in that there is this mythos that I think some people on the left are using as if it was the other way around and the left protesters shot the right-wing guy, he would get away with the same self-defense because he had a gun and he was justified in the shooting if he shot Kyle Rittenhouse before Kyle Rittenhouse shot him. And I want to point out that
the fix is in, bitches. It's not true.
That probably would not happen because of the relationship to private property would be the deciding factor of.
Yeah, would a leftist in full army man gear be chuckling it up with the cops beforehand? You have that.
Well, and that is, again, back to the private property thing.
Inherent relationship.
Because the way in which we view sovereignty, and I think we were talking about this, is a very gendered thing. And the way in which protesters are viewed as more natural, they're more primitive, they're more.
We're getting into some Derrida Foucault shit?
Yeah, like some Derrida sovereignty.
Okay.
And
do I detect a hint of Butler here?
Mostly Derrida.
Okay.
In that they are viewed as beasts and animals that are farther from God because they are destroying private property in this very mob-like fashion. They're always pitted, like one's a child one of the people that was killed was a child molester. He was on video destroying private property. He's not an innocent victim, is how they would frame it the other way if he was the one that was shot. And the gendered part about it is that this beastliness is very gendered feminine because the distance between themselves and godliness is farther this sovereign being who's there protecting private property, because private property makes you a landowner, which means that you have more power in society.
I think the true bummer of all this is all of these elements, of course, I'm not disagreeing that they exist, but it's not as if there is a concerted sort of decision-based effort that looks at what the rules are and whatever, and it doesn't matter. Like, when you're dealing with some sort of fundamental unfairness, there's
there's also questions as to whether that video would exist for a left-wing. Like, this whole, like, let's just take history and pick one and put another in.
No, the opposite day argument.
Yeah,
that, I feel like Kyle was well within his rights, and if it was somebody else who had disagreed with me, I would think the same thing. And it's like, yeah, I guess if you want to...
No, but the relationship...
Do imagination.
The relationship to the property would be different.
I'm saying, like, I get it, but, like, ultimately, that doesn't explain the other inequities that exist in the same area. It's just what things boil down to. But, like, even short of a material property that someone can point to and pretend like they're protecting, he still would have the support of the system.
That also protects the property.
The property doesn't have to exist. It doesn't actually have to be a thing. It's an excuse. And this is the frustrating circle of talking about this in the left. And when we're also talking about the various, like, identity politics that are also a factor here, because people are not actually beholden to some rules where they're like, oh, you got me. They're going to rationalize whatever it is in the moment.
And
I just want to discourage any leftists out there who thinks that they can do an opposite daisies too. It's not going to work.
It's just, you're not going to get to that point in the first place. And also, even getting beyond the, if we want to go super TrueAnon on this and just Jakarta method it out, the whole notion of the government setting up situations where armed right-wing paramilitaries will do their dirty work against popular uprising and resistant and dissident movements is,
Yeah, and it's worth talking. I mean, also, that one Proud Boy got killed in Oregon or whatever, and the police basically sent like a squad to hunt down the person.
They murked him.
So it's like, like...
The other thing is, regardless of whether this, whatever hypothetical, because at the end of the day, like, probably a different white person could also access the self-defense claim in certain situations.
Yeah, but okay, a different white person, but not a white person who was there
destroying property,
destroying property, or
they would always
overly defending black lives.
They would be
white people become worthless to fucking white supremacists as soon as you like it. That whole fantasy that I'm gonna stand up with my fucking whiteness and whatever. Maybe it's because I'm a woman, but
they would be called a terrorist.
They will absolutely just fucking. You're disposable as well. Immediately.
However,
your whiteness is not that valuable.
Yes. Okay.
There's too
fine.
many of
but
us.
In the abstract, could someone with lawyers and this, that, and the other thing access a self-defense claim in a given situation? I don't fucking know. I am not watching the video. My point is, it doesn't really matter whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse gets off. That has zero effect on that, one side or the other.
See, I think that they could have done a defense with like the Chauvin trial, because I think that's a defense that works within the kind of paradigm of the legal system, where the Chauvin defense was the police are good, the sovereignty of the police is valid, and it deserves to be upheld. This is just a bad apple. And if they had kind of used that argument and said, no, you should bring a gun to the protest if you're defending private property, this just got too out of hand, would have been...
Yeah, I would also say that,
But that's not the project that's being unfurled right now. The project that's being unfurled is that protesters and Antifa are so dangerous, not just to private property, but that's how we'll talk about it. They're so dangerous that you absolutely should be strapped, and you absolutely absolutely should be on the lookout for one of these animals and monsters to come at you.
I was scrolling through some like headlines about Antifa because I wrote an article about this, and they do over and over call them the Antifa animal or the beast of Antifa, the mad mob of Antifa. Like, I mean, they're all autonomous.
I don't know how checked in you are with people who are not here and etc. Like where
I do talk to farther right people most of the time.
I mean, I'm which is hard. I also, again, as always, want to emphasize that people don't actually exist on a right-left paradigm. And
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying though that I've seen people that you would say are liberal or conservative or etc. But I've seen people who fit both of those categories casually because they're not invested. Just be like, oh, like yeah, Antifa, those are the bad guys because false binary, very enticing logical fallacy for us all. So like if you're not invested or don't care to investigate any further than the superficial, you've been introduced a binary where there are bad people on this side and bad people on that side. And yeah, both sides are where you might also think, oh, well, obviously this side is way worse, but you still have those people who are like, well, there are some extremists on this side. And there's a lot of that. And I feel like I'm crazy because I'm like, there's not that. This is you know what I mean? The idea that there are the equivalent Antifa destroyers in this way that is like harming people. It's very frustrating, but it doesn't matter if it's true or not. The perception.
Well, it was the same way with Occupy. To go back to that example, there was such an alienation because I was the only one that I worked a few blocks away from it. I was the only one that had gone down and kind of investigated and saw it. And all the people I talked to that I'd worked with who were all pretty working class people that you would think they weren't like finance bros that were immediately like, oh, I have tons of stock in the stock market. But they were like, well, they don't believe in anything, and they're just mucking up the system and complaining about things that irrationally.
Just in a sort of defense, like I do feel like 2009 was a wildly different time for the status quo.
I was just saying that earlier.
I agree, but I'm using that as I agree that their objectives were very muddied and contradictory. But I'm saying the language around calling them animals, calling them less than people, calling them the beasts that were just dirtying up.
That same dynamic is absolutely there. I'm going to give an example from that time, right? So Occupy's happening. I am living still with the first group of people I lived with in New York, people I knew from college. There's some not great things about it. And these are people who are all liberals, right? Like as if I would live with Republicans.
It's possible.
Etc. It's not actually, my family is like weird. Like there's, like I've been
I wouldn't have assumed it is what I'm saying.
If somebody who's, so I'm saying, at the time especially, I wouldn't, if anybody was like, I'm a Republican, I'd be like, eh. But, so all the people I'm living with, liberals, very libs, ladies, girl bosses of us, before that was a thing. And I remember Occupy's happening, and it's kind of like, I remember there was one day where one of my roommates was working at a preschool that was not far from Wall Street. And she came home like, oh my God, they blocked the street and we couldn't get to work and the kids couldn't get to school today.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know what? Like, it's fine and all you want to protest, but you're like ruining these kids' day. And I looked at her like, are you kidding me right now? Like, these are literal children who've just like graduated daycare. Missing a couple days is nothing. I would have been more sympathetic if she was like, no, I'm not going to get paid or something like this. I'm an actual material thing that happened. But it was the perception that it had ruined children's days that she was so riled up about. And I just was like, I remember feeling like, oh no, this is how people become fucking idiots. Like, this is how, like, at this time, I remember I had this fear because there were, like, people's older sisters and cousins I knew who, a lot of women I knew who had seemed sort of progressive and then, like, got married to some dude and suddenly were, like, fucking weird, like, politically, like, and so I was already, like, whatever, but this was a whole other thing where I was like, oh, God, no. This is exactly what you find when you are online and you come across a chud, is that, like, they always mine this territory.
Well,
if you say something sassy to them, oh, like, what's your expertise? It's because my dead father was blah, blah, blah. Now you've suddenly been drawn into a thing where you have besmirched their dead father, who was an honorable man. And, like, they love that whole, like, they love souping themselves up on...
And, like, children are the projection of a lot of American politics because it is...
I mean, that's why Hannah Arendt was against school desegregation.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And she's the most liberal of the liberals.
Hannah Arendt invented being a SuperLib.
Yeah. She also dated Heidegger.
Yeah,
or just fucked Heidegger.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. Like,
yeah, that's how those girlies go. They're like, yes, I can fuck a fucking Nazi, but
the fattest, most disgusting looking Nazi. By the time she was fucking him, yeah, just the most bloated, boil-covered, pockmarked, pencil mustache,
like
fucking
bitches be putting up with a lot.
Nazi in the world.
And she's like, what about on totalitarianism?
And she's like a French Jew just being like, yeah, this is the same as communism.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
some people want their enemy to fuck them. So
this gets into what I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about the amount of right-wing fantasy that has been going on that this kind of embodies.
It's a lot, yeah.
That
Well, I mean, does it? I mean, honestly, people. Hundreds, thousands of people all over this country are beating their dicks right now to the idea that they could do something similar.
Exactly.
Like
they put themselves.
It does not make me want to go to a protest.
They Mark Wahlberg themselves on a 9/11 airplane. They're like, if I were in that situation,
Mark Wahlberg themselves in a lot of ways. Okay, they raced crime. They would have stopped 9/11. If they could do it at the same time, it's a twofer. That's the ideal.
Oh, I'm punching a Korean woman on my way to the.
On my way, no. Me punching the Korean woman has a butterfly effect of stopping 9/11.
All right, man. All right, bro. What if you could stop 9/11, but you just had to beat up like 5 Koreans? What about that? Okay, Donnie was talking. Donnie was talking about these like
fucking trolley problem right here. This is a trolley problem right here.
There's a fucking trolley problem. Okay, so
I throw fucking Ling Ling under the bus, and that would stop 9/11.
Oh, we didn't even say it had to be a girl. Okay.
Yeah, it's a woman, of course.
Look.
Lesser.
Because you can punch softer, so you do less damage.
Well, you can get more of
damage, but because if it's another dude, you got to go hard.
Well, if there's
especially because they know karate.
If there's a
I want to clarify that.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg said that, but he does not believe that.
That was me, Rabbit Wahlberg. Rabbit Wahlberg from Boston.
Oh, I was gonna go with they're so tiny you could throw more of them.
I think we've all gone through the jokes that Mark Wahlberg would make about this.
Oh man, guys.
This is in your the pilot of the show that you're gonna
God,
do.
Jesus, the church, Mother Mary, for this opportunity to beat up a Chinese woman in order to stop 9/11.
This time for good.
This time I will not regret it, as I punch her so hard the eye comes out of the socket because it will stop 9/11. This is to save Seth MacFarlane from 9/11 in an alternate universe.
All I'm saying is Omar Sharif would have gotten
Because
it.
if Seth MacFarlane had died on 9/11, I would have never been in Ted and something else. I don't know.
I wouldn't have redeemed myself to the degree I have. So,
I'm saying
because
if-
you know what? Oh, my brother did. He married Jenny McCarthy.
Mark
Didn't help. Anyway,
Wahlburgers would've-
Wahlburgers helped.
Yeah.
People loved it. I mean, look, you got any kind of accented white, lightly ethnic matriarch. We love it in America.
like the Queen, who's dead.
Oh yeah, ding dong, baby.
the
Queen has entered a new phase.
The Queen is
The Queen
dead.
has entered a new phase, and we shan't see her till perhaps February. But
Chucky
there is
Ardois, baby.
There is a baptism today, or there
26
was,
plus 6.
so
Well-
we'll see if she was seen. There was a staged photo they tried to put out on Saturday to say, oh, here's a new photo since she sprained her back, like blah, blah, blah. And it was like a completely weird staged photo. Man, I just love how eager we are for the death of Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh God, I am so looking forward to it.
I just...
All I'm saying is that the tabloids in the Rite Aids that I work at are going bonkers right now with the stories. They've got so much material to work with.
What?
Go
What's
home,
your
British
favorite
soldier, go
one?
home.
What?
What's your favorite one that you've
Oh,
seen?
it's like rumors are swirling that the Queen has been dead for months now.
Rumors are swirling that the
Rumors
Queen
are-
has been dead for months now.
And aliens have come down.
And aliens have come down. I don't even know if that's how they would say it. And aliens, I just like aliens have come down. Oh no, you can tell I'm from another Commonwealth planet.
Yep. Oh, that's how they
not
talked in.
Australia. It's not South Africa.
That's how they talked in the
meteor.
Princess Switch. I was
Yeah,
told.
It's
okay,
South
the Princess
Australia.
Switch, bringing up.
It's South Australia.
So yes, I introduced Marlo to the lovely series, The Princess
I love
Switch.
it so much. I am
starring,
going to get into the lore.
Vanessa Hudgens. So the first one, I want to put it out there. Marlo only watched the third one, the new
and
one.
I love it.
It was I love it as well. The first one is a basic recasting of the Prince and the Pauper. A commoner and a royal person who look alike, oh, let's switch places, is the basic thing. But it's Vanessa Hudgens. She's a baker from Chicago. And there are two made-up kingdoms in this universe.
North White Zamunda and South White Zamunda.
Yes, they are White Zamundas, as Marlo, as he was watching the third one, is how he classified them. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's good.
Is that a reference? That's the reference to the.
Coming to America,
Coming to America.
Zamunda is the country.
Yeah, and
a made-up country.
And we watched Coming to America.
Did we? I
I
started.
thought maybe you and I did.
I watched it.
Yeah, I watched the sequel.
I started
Which-
it with my parents, and about 15 minutes in, like, we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, bail, and we're like, yeah, bail.
Well, the thing is that I remember about it was it had a similar vibe as the princess movie. What was it? Not Cinderella. The movie we
the
watched.
stupid Cinderella thing we watched.
Cinderella?
Was it called that?
Wait.
Did we watch where
Yeah,
she's like
the
girl boss?
Yeah, she's making dresses and shit.
Yeah, that was a Cinderella. It was a new Cinderella.
Oh, it was just called
and then
Cinderella?
and then the whole thing was I didn't know the musical part where they were using pop songs.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
it was, yes.
okay.
It was just
The thing
Cinderella.
I re-
Amazon
Okay.
Prime.
The thing I
Cinderella.
remember about Coming to America was that they didn't make the girl
Yeah, similar preposterous country.
Well,
vibes.
they also like they didn't make the girl act like a dog like they did in the original, and they were like, we're not gonna make you act like a dog. You should make your own business. They had like the entrepreneurial spirit in that movie.
Yeah, that is the progress.
That's how we show that we're better as a culture. is that we make everybody entrepreneurs that we once subjugated.
You know
Well, and
I'm gonna say?
what I love about
Absent from Princess Switch, I did not see a hint of entrepreneurialism. Just good old-fashioned Spy Kids fun.
There's a lot of Spy Kids fun. I feel like in the earlier ones, there's a little bit because the American girl is a baker.
Right.
So it's like she's so good. Like it's about how she's really good and like should get more attention for how good she is, and not necessarily like how do you be like a more snappy business. Also, they fall in love and etc. There's a lot of love stories.
Yeah, sure.
But it is. But I do want to shout out Vanessa Hudgens for not just playing 3 different characters with 3 different accents,
So
but also playing those characters.
They keep adding
pretending to be the
Vanessa
other
Hudgens.
ones.
Yeah, no, my goal.
You guys unfamiliar with Vanessa Hudgens? I'm very familiar. Too familiar.
My
Saw her
goal
nudes.
is like a post-credit scene in
Bunny
one of
saw
the.
her pussy. Now she has a direct connection to her brain.
That's right. I will always be your fan, Vanessa Hudgens, because I happened upon your nudes and then I was like, oh, sweetie pie. You're very explicit. So whatever you do.
Well, that's what happens
I'll
when
watch. I'll give it a stream,
Well,
okay?
when you see
I'll
somebody's
put 0.0001 cent in your pocket.
Well,
or however it works.
Well, when you see somebody's pussy, then you have a direct
That
psychic
is the
link.
spell I put
Yeah.
on myself. I
Yeah.
said, I can't be trusted to just avoid nudes, because some people, if you tell me I'm pretending like I didn't look it up. But you know what? I did.
Yeah, you did.
Not to masturbate to. I want to make that clear. Just because I gotta know. I gotta know it's available. It's terrible. I know it's awful and voyeuristic, and
we're leaning into that at Pinko Kami Slutz. We're leaning into the
and it's
voyeurism.
horrible because it makes me the way I bespoke my own nudes is I think about, well, if this leaked.
Would I be proud
I'd be like,
of it?
oh no, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
Would I be-
that's what you think.
And on your Patreon, for you people, Bunny is gonna get.
I'm gonna make NFTs
Yeah,
of
NFTs.
paintings I made of my nudes.
Yeah.
I did make these. They actually exist just because I was like, well, if I'm gonna practice on nude bodies, might as well do my own. But then I thought it'd be funny. Anyway.
This is giving the people what they want.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna make NFTs of the nudes, but then I'm gonna take those little like ape things that are NFTs,
yeah, the monkey
and I put them
thing.
over the nips, and then I'm gonna sell them.
Monkey censored.
Yeah, I almost want to make them and like write scam on them and sell them then, because I feel like it would be funny, because also there's like I want to say 18% of me that would love to be like a Marina Abramovich type
I love
bitch.
Marina
So
Abramovich.
I would love to be like
so much.
this entire thing a performance piece.
My favorite thing she did was just, I saw a video of her just
I want to break up. Leland, I
blood.
love you. We've planned to break up we haven't figured out what's better than the Great Wall of China, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to get back together after, but we just, because she did that. Her and her lover went to the top of the Great Wall of China and officially broke up, and then walked apart from each other, going in either direction.
Well, that
very-
reminds me of the opening scene of Cell.
We did watch Cell, 2000 Cell, starring Jennifer Lopez, who is like the Marina Abramovich,
of pop music.
pop music.
I'm gonna just be honest.
It's not. That's Lady Gaga for sure. How dare me?
I'm pretty sure I don't know who Marina Abramovich is.
What?
Yeah.
The artist is present?
I
Yeah.
have no idea what that means.
How do I know one more pretentious thing than Marlo
Yeah,
does?
this is-
How
I
is
don't know.
this
I'm not an art
possible?
guy.
She does the performance art in feminism. Like, that's her
Okay.
thing. Like, what's the one that I know was the video of her splattering like the word "fuck the patriarchy" in blood
So is
on
she
the screen.
like the character from Big Lebowski, basically?
No,
No.
okay, no, I don't.
The-
look, one, I actually respect Marina Abramovich. I'm not trying to fucking drag her. I'm just saying, like, she's the like modern performance artist that you would
go to,
aspire to, or whatever.
The one famous one was that she lay nude in an art gallery.
Oh, okay.
And then with a gun next to her, and somebody put it up against her head and loaded it, and somebody took a picture, and that was her, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
And
one.
they like she was like the passive art piece that.
And she previous to that exhibit, she did a piece with another artist who was her lover, and they did a piece where they went to the Great Wall of China, and at a designated spot they met and stared at each other for a moment and then walked in opposite directions, and that was the art piece of their dissolution of that relationship. And like, sorry, I love that art people of this nature exist at all. And
it's a very like 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s kind of postmodern, how do I use the body?
And Jay-Z did his whole art, his Picasso baby thing was made with Marina Abramovich.
Okay.
Yeah, she's big name. Like,
yeah, no, I'm sure
Lady
she
Gaga
is. I
spent,
don't
like,
know.
Cody was super into Marina Abramovich. That's
Fair.
how I know about. Like, I
enough.
dated an art.
So the reason I have been thinking about her a lot lately, because I've been thinking about the next sort of artist in this area who might be doing dumb online things more. Because she's pretty old at this point. She's a grown lady. She did, when we watched Sex and the City, when she was with the artist and they went to that performance arts place that was making fun of Marina Abramovich. Or, well, that was sort of a reference to her. Of course, I had to get Marlo really geared up for the, it comes out in December, Marlo.
Oh, sweet.
The next Sex and the City chapter, which Marlo
awesome.
is totally ready for.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
absolutely.
there is no Samantha, but
Lame.
but there is our next president, Cynthia Nixon.
I'm not a member of the. I just like thinking it's a cross between Richard and Cynthia.
Yeah. I also associate Nixon with Nixon.
I associate Nixon with Quakers.
But The Cell, Marlo had never seen it, but you had seen it.
I'd seen it, but when I was
a wee babe.
When I was a wee babe when it came out, so 16, 17. But I love Jennifer Lopez, and which can be demonstrated by the fact that at some point when I was super high and or maybe a little tipsy, I was on Twitter and I liked a thing for her next movie, which put me on a list that was like, don't worry, girl, you're going to get all the updates coming up until February 14th when this movie comes out. And I was like,
Valentine's
this is
Day.
so embarrassing. But also, of course, yes, I always watch a Jennifer Lopez movie. And I'm excited for this one. It's Owen Wilson's her love interest.
I love The Cell. It is
Good for him.
It is
Wow. Now, Owen Wilson, but Vince Vaughn is in The Cell.
Vince Vaughn, the two Vinces, Vince Vaughn and Vincent D'Onofrio. Amazing casting. Vincent D'Onofrio plays the best demonic creature. He's off the wall.
I love that he's a serial killer, but I do not care about. It doesn't feel like, oh, why is he doing it?
Oh,
They're
absolutely not. It was kind of stupid.
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to play these games at all. We're just going to show you some fucking wild shit.
Yeah, no, the movie...
It was like a criminal intent episode,
the
which
movie
he was also in.
Is very much an excuse to show set pieces that were pretty nice looking.
Yeah.
All things considered.
Like a music video after music video.
Yeah, it was a series of, horror-themed music videos, to be sure, but...
Black holes.
Black hole.
Call back.
Yeah.
We got that.
To the credit of the reviews, a lot of the reviews are, it was all style, no substance. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but also so are other things.
You know what?
And
I
that
love
can be
going
good.
to the movie and being like, so much substance.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can have that in a movie.
I felt like a novel was being read to me.
Well, you can
But you can
have that.
also
That's a
have
good
the
movie
novel being
that
read
can-
to you and have it all be style. Look at Wes Anderson last movie.
Yeah, and I mean, you can debate about how much substance versus style, and you could go through that, but I think it's fairly inarguable that, yeah, there wasn't much there to the movie outside of the visual set pieces, but also those were good and there was care taken, and you can appreciate that in a movie.
Well, and the premise is interesting.
The premise is serviceable.
Yeah,
So
so
awesome.
okay, so for those unfamiliar, the premise
20-year-old movie we're explaining
is
here.
a 20-year-old movie. So the premise is that there is one, Jennifer Lopez is a therapist.
Well, okay, and I just have to say, it's an Inception premise.
Yep.
And it's more realistic that if Inception existed, why the fuck would corporate spying be the way you go rather than, oh, this sounds like a therapeutic tool. We should try using
Exactly.
it for therapy.
It was more realistic than
yeah, that makes
fucking
way more sense.
Inception.
Yeah, so Jennifer Lopez works at this company that has developed this technology that allows you to visit another person's brain, their psyche, their subconscious.
It has only seemingly been used
On coma patients.
on coma patients. It's not really clear in the movie if that's like all it can be used for. It seems to be implied not, but like whatever. It didn't really get into all that.
And then there's also a serial killer, and then this guy,
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio, who's very kinky. That's the other part. So there's a lot of just gratuitous.
Straight up like Hellraiser shit.
Juliana was
with,
going off about the
Oh, there's a ton
BDSM.
it's just a ton of BDSM shit. Like,
It's serviceable though to the horror
in
elements.
a time before kink.com.
Yeah, it was serviceable. It was also in this era, and this was I always go back to, is that 99 13th Floor came out, which is another Inception movie, but like a multiverse Inception movie where Vincent D'Onofrio went into the multiverse to change the person's life because they were living in this simulated universe, which is awesome. And then obviously at the end of the movie, they find out that their universe is also a simulated universe.
Like that episode of Rick and Morty.
Simulate turtles all the way down.
A simulation of a simulation.
It's just fucking fake
Within
turtle all the
another
way
simulation.
down, y'all.
And so that was 99.
On some elephants, or the other way around,
That
however
was
it goes.
that was 99, and then 2000. This movie comes out where the Inception universe is like you get a drop of their blood and you go into the cell, and that lets you access to their. That was the.
Is that how it worked?
That was the implied thing with the blood. Like they stuck the needle in.
Well, yeah, I think it was like some sort of, I don't know.
And
whatever, it doesn't matter.
It sent you into that like spiral, like vortex that you go into their subconscious.
I will say it didn't. I guess the chamber he locked the women in, but it really didn't like push why that movie was called The Cell too hard.
No, it didn't.
It really didn't really address that so much.
The
like
only thing
I could make guesses.
The only thing I could get out of it was that the way you access the.
Well, also the women were locked in what one could call a cell.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Which, in my research, I found out the woman trapped in the cell, that actress, lied about being able to swim, which upset the director very much.
For years later.
For years and years later, he's giving an interview,
apparently
and he
she
brings it up
couldn't-
3 times.
Well, I mean, apparently, if you can't hold your breath underwater without
she held her
holding your
nose.
nose, like you're a fucking 4-year-old,
like you're doing the swim
I don't know.
dance.
I think I would be kind of annoyed as well.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't like they were saying like, oh, can you do
And this
laps?
is 1999 when they're making
No.
this movie. This is not the time when they are thinking about the well-being of the actress in a stunt situation at
No.
all. So,
Well, and I want to point out right after this, The Matrix came out in 2001. And this
Well,
could
Matrix was 99.
Matrix was 9. Okay, so,
so
it's in the same 2-year period.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I just wanted to make the connection that these 3 movies kind of were all blockbusters. They were sort of all successful.
The Cell was that?
It was
make
a
it.
success
Yeah, it did. It was a super
monetarily.
low budget movie, but it did double its. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
and it's one of the movies that's considered like an unusual movie that Jennifer Lopez did. But it's funny because it came out in a way that made that look like that, but actually she made it almost right after Anaconda, and then did not want to take any other sort of horror adjacent films after that for fear of becoming like
pigeonholed as a
scream
typecast.
queen sort of person.
And
So,
well, there was this thing about the Y2K anxiety that I think around that era there was a lot of anxiety about reality and the unconscious reality or surreality.
Now I'm a little older than you guys, and I cannot express to you the amount of disappointment I felt at the
Y2K?
New Year's when nothing happened.
I was ready for it.
I thought maybe something, and then when nothing happened, I was like, oh.
Yeah, my dad worked in
Fine.
computers and was not at all concerned.
Oh, I mean, not the
Mine did
actual
too.
computer thing, but just like the idea that something catastrophic would occur.
Yeah, we're all waiting
at the
for the event.
millennium. I was like, okay, like I would not have expressed it at the time, but I was like, let me see. And then when nothing happened, I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, you wanted a 9/11
Time is a construct. Sorry.
You wanted a 9/11 on Y2K.
Before I knew what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted something
Back then
meaningful.
it was called a Columbine.
Well, and that's what actually Baudrillard talks about when he talks about Y2K is that we have this fantasy of the end of the world, and when it passed, there was this kind of collective relief and disappointment, and then that fantasy kind of came true with 9/11 like a year and a half later.
Yeah, but then all we've got is like super macro catastrophes slowly coming at us, and we don't get any destruction porn in our real lives, like like all of that
There's no
set us
tidal
up to
wave.
want.
There's
man.
no tidal waves taking out the Hamptons. Like
Not yet.
that's 5 years from now.
Oh god.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie though. I would recommend it if you're into this surreal reality bending.
Yeah, it's better than how forgotten it is. So
Right.
I'll say that.
Marlo has some qualms with the plot that he hyper focuses on.
Well, if you just want to sell it as it's a PowerPoint of cool looking shit, then sure, I'm with you. And I won't argue.
Let me tell you, it blew my mind when I was like 13.
Yeah, well, 100%. It looks great. And not only does it look great, there is care taken. There's a logic to why it looks the way it does that you can tell it seemed like someone like thought this through. Wish I could say that for how they brought the plot home. And I don't even wish I could say that for how they wrote the dialogue, because I love that stupid fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like I like the dumb fucking dialogue. That shit's fun to me. For how well the rest of the movie was structured, for how perfectly good the concept was for what they needed it to be. Like they had all these working gears. And there was a point where, for me, it fell apart, and that was a disappointment.
I did turn to you at that part, and I went, Marlo, you're gonna think this is stupid. And then
Then I came up with a better plot for the movie in the middle of it, and I went, so what's really happening is this, and you're like, no. And
But
I'm like, sorry.
that was okay. There is like the climax of the movie, the discovery of the woman was deciding action was Vince Vaughn, the police FBI officer, went in the unconscious of Vincent D'Onofrio and sees a symbol that he, in his memory, remembered from the basement of Vincent D'Onofrio, and he's like, oh, that's significant because that signifier is something that I've...
Oh, we should have done check the basement more better.
We should have. Oh yeah, that. These $250,000 piece of industrial equipment there. Okay, you see a fucking albino dog's hair, and your first instinct is, oh, not that many people have albino dogs. Let's go to every fucking dog seller in the entire fucking state and see every person who ever bought a fucking albino dog. You see a $250,000 piece of industrial equipment, and you don't think to contact the manufacturer.
That's a much more boring movie, though. I want to point out that
it's the dog. The dog's the key.
I agree it's stupid, but I will push back and say the idea of you doing detective work in the unconscious of somebody
I'm not
is
arguing
really
the movie shouldn't have
unethical.
had a sci-fi.
It's unethical, but it's very funny. But
also this didn't actually happen. And the writer could have come up with a different thing that could have only been discovered in the dream world. Or better yet, that could have been a red herring. And when Jennifer Lopez was like, no, we have to help this person who's in distress, Vince Vaughn would have then realized, oh my God, Jennifer Lopez is right. I need to go back and actually help this person. And then he goes back, and then that solves the mystery and brings the whole fucking thing home. That would have been how to do it.
I agree. And that is Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah,
the red herring is what you're talking about. What happened in Silence of the Lambs?
Red herrings happen in a lot of things, but yes, there was one in Silence of the Lambs.
In one, and you see the knock on the door, and you think it's Buffalo Bill's house, and it ends up not being Buffalo Bill's house. But they edit it correctly. So what you wanted was a Silence of the Lambs ending for this movie, which is also very Silence of the Lambs.
Or even if not that, at the very least, I don't want to be able to go, well, they didn't need the whole cool sci-fi concept that they came up with that's this movie's entire selling point to do the thing that they ostensibly needed the thing to do. You could have come up with...
But the cool part of it is that he went in the unconscious...
He could have looked out a window and saw a street sign. He could have looked out a window and saw a fucking road sign.
But you were thinking about this way more linearly than is necessary, because the cool part is that he noticed the symbol early on. It's one of those callback things. He noticed the symbol early on, and you as the audience see the symbol in the dream world and connect it just like Vince Vaughn was, and he's doing the detective work in there, just as you are doing the detective work throughout, where you're seeing... I don't know, just things in the real world that are then manifested as signifiers in the dream world.
Suspension of disbelief works when the movie sets up a set of logical rules that then I accept those logical rules, but then they are internally consistent. For me, it doesn't work when there's a point where I go, okay, even by the logic this movie set up, this is wrong. And that's the thing that brought me out of it. You know, it is a case of sort of a loose, just you made a mistake in your structure, and everything else was really great about it. Every other part of the structure of that film, up till that point, everything that brought him there, I was totally on board with. And I liked it up to that point. I was saying, this is Seven-like. This is Seven-esque. Yeah, so that's my one gripe with the movie. It's just like,
I'm seeing it as within the logic of the film, not the logic of the universe. They have things that they place in the real world that they then replicate in the dream world, and drawing the connection between the real world and the dream world allows for the resolution.
I mean, okay, maybe it could have been a symbol that he saw earlier that then, oh, check that again. Fuck, there's a secret drawer behind it. I don't know. I'm with you that they could have done other things. I don't know. Like, again, this is all a choice of, well, yeah, there's a person writing this movie and they made choices and I'm criticizing some of those choices. Yeah, there's a few other ways they could have done it that wouldn't have pissed me off. That just was one that annoyed me, because it's like you kind of set up a mystery movie with this whole concept and then it's like, well, why didn't you do that before?
As I think Juliana said, the story was not the finding of the woman.
Yeah, it was
the relationship between Vincent D'Onofrio and Jennifer Lopez, and the exploration of reality and unconscious.
Well, and then she kills him.
Yeah.
in their brains.
Let's talk about the ending. The Madonna scene
Yes.
and then things start growing on the screen. I remember as a child thinking, am I hallucinating when this is happening?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It broke the fourth wall because it was literally on the screen of the movie, not even in the movie. It kind of crawled on the movie
It's
screen.
just like when they do blood splatters on the lens.
Yeah, it broke the fourth wall.
Well, how else would you know that she had successfully reversed the flow?
Yeah. Right.
Which is what is happening there
That's
is
the
instead of her
climax.
going into his mind, she has drawn him into hers.
Right.
Into a contrived setting that she has created now based on what she knows about him.
She's dressed as the Madonna.
She's basically the Virgin Mary, but he
needs to be saved, and there's like the holy water, and his whole thing is that the first time he had this schizophrenic attack that they made up was when he got baptized at 6 years old or something like that.
Well, he has a schizophrenia that's also epilepsy when the writer needs it to be epilepsy. It's a very specific.
He has a seizure.
and one that like shows up very clearly on an MRI.
And then it turns into a stroke sometimes. It's a weird. It's called Wayland's ingress or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, made up for the movie.
But anyway, it's a magical kind of schizophrenia that also is epilepsy and also is a virus in your brain that causes you to have a stroke.
Yeah. Movie magic. Movie.
And it's triggered by water.
Yeah. And so in order to kill him, Bunny, she takes him as the Virgin Mary and puts the child version of him under the holy water, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought it was holy water or like a recreation of his baptism.
Yes. But what I think is interesting is that like Jennifer Lopez knows what she's doing in this situation. Like
She can't not. Like
no, I'm saying like I like it when you got to kill a kid.
we've established this on the podcast before. Bunny, kid killer.
It just in the astral plane.
Stephen, kid noogier. Yeah, it does have like an astral plane. When you die in the dream, you die in real life. That Marlo literally said that, and then they said it.
I said. I think my words.
You were like, well, what are the stakes of what happened?
I think my words were, man, I'm almost impressed that they didn't do any stupid if you die in the dream shit. And then 3 seconds later, so if you die in the dream, you die in real life? Yeah, pretty much, said that guy who I love. God, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's
Who's
such a
that
great
guy?
actor.
What's his name again?
Baker? Dylan Baker?
Dylan Baker. Yeah. Oh, he's in that movie, and I love
The
him.
cast was incredible.
Yeah, no, fun cast. Like it's not a great movie. It could have been a great movie, but it's what it is.
Could have been a contender. Well, look, I'm really glad we watched it because I'm definitely going to make you watch the Jennifer Lopez movie that's coming out on Valentine's Day 2022, wherein a Jennifer Lopez-like character is about to marry her superstar boyfriend, but then finds out he's been cheating. So on the live stream, she marries a random person instead, and that's Owen Wilson.
As Pete Davidson.
That sounds great. I don't know why people are so confused by Pete Davidson. But
I don't either.
That
He's
reveals too much about me.
Yeah, he's a funny skinny dude who dates women.
He's a fuckable guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do not understand that confusion.
I don't know
at all.
what these people are telling themselves is.
Attractive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Kim Kardashian is just moving along.
Yep.
Moving on.
She's dating Pete Davidson. Her and Chloe got butt reductions is the goss.
I think this
that's
is
what Jennifer
I just have
Lopez
to say, I
got,
think
right?
this is
Jennifer
also.
Lopez never had her butt done. Jennifer Lopez had a naturally big butt, but in today's world of BBLs, she looks like she has a totally normal butt.
I just have to say, I feel like this is me living with Bunny rubbing off on me, but I was just thinking today, I don't get why people are confused about why Pete Davidson fucks. Like, that was literally a thought I had earlier today. I was just like, I don't get why that's confusing to people.
Like, he's just out here crushing mad puss, and not one of these bitches has a single bad thing to say about him. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, then there was Ariana Grande who made a song about it.
In the song, she's like, he's great. It didn't work out and he has a huge dick. That's literally in that fucking song.
Thank you. Next.
That's in the song. Like, Ariana, who's a itty bitty little person, she wanted to marry that guy she married this past year, which was a real estate guy or some shit, or an agent. See, whatever.
Checks out.
I do think there is a possibility in 20 years they will rekindle a relationship a la J-Lo and Ben Affleck.
Oh, this is your fantasy.
This is just my predictions, which are increasingly correct, and I hate it because they're only about this dumb shit, and also probably that we're all gonna die. So I don't know. Look, Pete Davidson is quite charming. He's
a funny, charismatic guy who looks fine.
He's fine.
Like,
And like, I like, what? Since when do people not understand he's tall? Doesn't matter if his
And
eyes look
skinny.
weird.
But apparently he's not Joe Rogan, so...
Oh, Joe Rogan, who's like
5'5" Joe
who's
Rogan.
5'7" or 5'5".
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's 5'7", which means I'm taller than him. Because I also say I'm 5'7", but I'm really 5'6" and a half. So he's definitely 5'5" and a half, and saying he's 5'7".
My
feel.
height thing was really fucked up by my family.
Oh, your Nordic family?
Yes, my Nordic family
made you feel like you should be tall?
I'm the short one in the family.
Uh-huh.
My brother's 6'2", my dad is 6'2", my grandfather was 6'5", and all my cousins are like 6'3" and above.
Uh-huh.
And I'm 5'10".
Oh, yikes.
Yeah,
rough.
shorty over
It is
here.
rough.
I'm living the short life in my family.
I mean, it could only be worse if you were Indian, quite frankly. I mean, there's only some people who put such value on tallness openly. I'm probably the only one who watched the Indian Matchmaker show, which, like, every single person, they were like, somebody very tall. They also wanted fair-skinned people. And I was like, yikes, they didn't edit this out for us to watch. Like, we should know that they're doing this.
okay.
And by we, I mean white people who are watching it on Netflix. I should know.
To the Indians, if you send us your media, please try and edit out the colorism for our sake.
I'm just saying, I would have thought
And
they would
your
want to
sake.
cover it up.
And your sake as well.
Okay, and the interesting thing about the height thing in my family is that my aunt and uncle, for whatever reason, adopted 5 children, and they're all from Asian countries. And so they are significantly shorter than the rest of the family. So now it's kind of even out. Mm-hmm. And that's just how my family is now. At least my father's family. The Kulaks in the northern New York, western New York, I guess.
I don't know. My mom's short, and my dad is taller than her, so I never really thought about it. But he's not tall, man.
My
taller
mom,
than me.
My mom is very short, and my dad is very tall.
My mom's shorter than me. My dad's taller. My best friend, however, 6'1".
My brother, 6'1".
And she's a lady, and people always remark that she was hot for being so tall.
Oh, yeah.
In a specific way.
All my aunts are over 6 feet tall, or like 5'10" and above in that family. Yeah, they're all basketball players.
Yeah, no, my best friend's family, they're all tall.
The Germans.
No, it's unusual for Greeks. They're the random tall Greeks.
So they go to Greece and they're just towering over.
Well, no, it's like they both come from like taller Greek families, but there's a lot of very short people who are Greek. Very tiny. There's a lot of tiny Greeks out there. A lot of rotund Greeks. Shout out to Stav.
Yeah, there we go. Who I'm never sure how tall he is because he keeps seeing...
He's as tall as me.
5'7"?
Yeah.
5'6.5".
Yeah,
He
yeah.
kind of seems to oversell how tall he is on the podcast.
You know what? I'm like, I feel like if he's taller than me, he's not much taller than me, but I haven't. No way. He's
Check if you see him over
He's
Christmas.
5'9" at most.
We should go to Funny Moms one week.
Yeah.
No, this is a bunny doesn't want to go to look.
No, I just feel awkward. No, I do. I apologize. There's several times I've gotten way drunk somewhere adjacent in a comedy space, and somebody's a fan of Stops, and I'm like, let me tell you a fucking story. And it's like some random shit from when we grew up, and I am older than him, and like...
And he was a child.
He's like, we were children. Any story I have, like, whatever. Or, I mean, what I think is really funny is that every Greek pretends like they have no idea what Cumtown is, but they know Stav's making money. So they're like, he's doing great.
Oh,
it's oh my God, it's so funny. Because we are cousins by marriage on one side, more or less. And, whatever, because now I get to enjoy the really fun thing where it's like, oh yeah, the comedy, like, stops, it's going really well for him. Like, yeah, it is. Guys, great. Love talking about
cousin. Hey, cuz.
Love talking about it. Christos. No, that would have been Easter, yeah. Gala Christoyana is what's coming up, guys. But yeah, it is very funny because even the Greeks I know what Stav's whole deal is. Like, pretend
the
like,
naked calendars. Do they know that?
Oh, well,
aspect
I mean,
of it?
you know, it's kind of like there is a thing with Greeks where it's like, well, if it makes money or if it like whatever, like I might not think it's what I want, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing where...
Isn't he also buying up property in Greektown? Is that...
I mean, who isn't? I would absolutely buy property in Greektown. Should I...
Come into some money.
Yeah, if I was able to. I fucking love Greektown.
This is a call for the Patreon. We need
I want to buy...
Fund the Greektown landlord.
I would love to buy a square of Greektown. I would love to buy my dad's old house. I would love to buy like that one and like the 3 down to the end of the block. And turn it into something. Savage Street and Greektown. You guys know it. My dad, he used to do a little song. I am Pete the Greek. I come from Savage Street. That is literally a thing my dad used to do. I love my dad. Shout out to my dad.
Patreon, fund the Greektown landlord.
Fund the Greektown landlord project. Fund me doing something my dad would love, which is that. Because guess what? We're just going to rent to somebody we know. It's not... It's going to turn into headache. It's not going to... But also, big story for my dad is him not getting his dad to buy property in a certain neighborhood in Baltimore. And it's become, one of the most expensive downtown neighborhoods. So... I feel like my dad's very vulnerable to any investment in this way. Let's make my dad's dream come true. Also, he would love to go on tour. So give us money so we / maybe just me go on a comedy tour.
Yeah,
and bring my dad.
There you go. That's a fund worth paying for.
My dad likes to party, guys. He will try your edibles.
He likes arguing with the neighbor also.
He likes arguing. He's a lib. Sometimes he has a random opinion where you're like, what? Where did this come from?
Well, we should get him on the podcast.
Oh, he would love it.
Oh, this is like Phil's father-in-law who's from Argentina, and he's like kind of a super lib, but then he'll like go off about how actually moose are all pussies and
Yeah, my dad does not like vegans. My dad is like, fucking like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what did anyone ever say to you in any context?
How you should stoically accept the death of your dead relatives because it doesn't matter to them because they're dead.
That's what the Phil's
father-in-law said. Yeah, no, he's great. I love him. He's the coolest dude. Shout out to that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my dad is infamously amazing at crying at funerals, guys. It's a Greek thing.
My dad was infamously called by my mom in front of the rest of the family dead wood because that was his personality according to her. That's the amount of emotion that he shows is a dead wood amount.
He has that very reserved Protestantism.
Yeah. We'll say 5 words over 5 hours, and
your family is the normie family from my big fat Greek wedding.
yeah.
The toast people?
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever the...
That's what it is. You brought it up.
Okay, yeah.
The
She
toast
knows the
people
movie.
is when he's like, oh no, she's going to marry a Xeno. They're dry like toast.
They different people, so dry. That family is like a piece of toast. No honeys, no jam, just dry.
Okay, yeah, sure, I remember that.
Yeah,
Which,
my family, the toast
the
people.
Klutz are the toast people.
Yeah, that's true.
Where we could get him drunk on little tiny things of ouzo.
Okay, my dad actually has a method where he likes to go on the beach and he makes himself Long Island iced teas and he puts them in Poland Spring water bottles and brings them on the beach and just gets lit and falls asleep for like 2 hours.
Yeah, that's an okay thing to do.
He reuses he's very meticulous about his bottling, and he has used the same Poland Spring bottles for years now.
That rules.
It rules so hard, and when you watch him you can tell when he gets a little lit because his face gets really flushed for the first time in months. And he just laughs this deep chuckling laugh, and you're like, Dad, I didn't know you laughed.
Yep.
I didn't know you were capable of showing humorous responses.
Connect to me on a human level.
Yeah.
It's funny because, I don't feel like my dad's, particularly, in touch with, his emotions, but, my dad laughs all the time.
No, my
dad thinks he's a funny guy. He is a funny guy, but he's really concerned about whether you think he's a funny guy as well. Oh my God, my poor boyfriend. Every time he comes over, my dad's like, "Hey, Leland, I tell you this thing," and I'm like, "No, just fucking relax." And then Leland's like, "This is gonna be funny."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "But you think it's funny because it's not your dad."
Well, I do remember.
I like to mitigate.
When Ariel met the Klutz, she went to Christmas. Meet the Klutz. It was a dry Christmas because they're kind of Christian fundamentalists up there, and she walks
up where?
Woodstock, City, New York.
I gotcha.
It's about 4 or 5 hours from here. At least it's up north.
It's
near Syracuse Sea area, and they have a farm with a couple hundred cows, and they hosted Christmas. And Ariel walks in, and she's standing online for the buffet because it's a buffet style Christmas. I went to the bathroom, and Ariel was alone with my dad, and my dad was like, "So, what do you think of this party? What do you think of the family?" And she goes, "I'm short." And my dad, for the first time interacting with my girlfriend, laughed this chuckling laugh, and she's like, "I see you. I can vibe with you, Steve's dad." And that kind of humor, that kind of repressed observational humor is my dad's side of the family, which is the stoic don't show any emotions, but just make observations that are quirky. And also they're really into birthday cards. Like if you get a good birthday card or a card of anything that says something quirky or funny on it, they'll love you for the rest of your life.
They are Protestants.
Yep. Extremely Protestants. Zion Lutherans, actually.
Yep.
So if anyone's trying to get in good with Steve's dad, you know what to do.
Get a card. Get a greeting
Get
card.
a funny card, but not too funny.
Not too funny. You don't want to give too much away. That was a good. We have a lot of mom talks on this show.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just chime in. My dad's just cool to do.
Yeah, your dad is the weed dealer of
I feel
Ocean
like in
County.
my head, Marlo's dad like surfs onto sea turtles on the red.
You're actually not terribly
Not
far
far
off.
Like I feel like
No, you are not far. No, my dad is like the most fucking athletic person his age.
I just feel like we're gonna go down and visit with Marlo's fam, and your dad is gonna ride up, just jet skiing.
My favorite story about Marlo's
and
dad.
I'm gonna be like, this checks out. This seems like
Marlo's
everything
dad
expected.
picked up a phone call in the middle of like driving and just talking regular to us, and then he picks up a phone call from his fisherman friend. And the code switch was so fucking.
Yeah.
He went from just like, yeah, I like it, to, I don't really say things, and we're gonna wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, and it sounds like.
Wait, Steve, do more.
Yeah, no,
do more mid Atlant.
It's just ows and e's and oohs.
You sound like a British person trying. It's ocean,
Yeah,
so that
man.
something about it that you gotta click into it. You gotta you gotta
wait.
sniff. Look, snort a little this right here.
The Old Bay
The Old
seasoning.
Bay.
The Old Bay
It's gonna
seasoning.
give you some insight.
You remember this though?
Yeah, no, I
This
mean,
was we were all
he-
laughing in the car.
He does it all the time. Like, no, well, my dad does do some weird, like, code switching, like, depending on which friend group he's talking to.
Oh, my dad absolutely as well, because it's ESL.
Well, and then
but-
my dad has whenever he's talking to his family up north, he sounds like he's in Ohio, because they have that Midwestern accent you can tell who he's talking to based on how he sounds on his line.
Well, I mean, I even told the story when it happened, was just like when we all went out water skiing recently, and like finally my dad's like, all right, Sage, you're driving for me, and my sister starts driving for him, and oh boy, he's like a really good water skier.
And I am fascinated by this because like I can't think of a thing that my dad would be able to do less. He'd be like, oh, it's cold.
No, my dad would like it too. I remember him as my soccer coach, and
yeah, my dad did that for his sister. For my sister.
Super competitive. I just remember my dad screaming, and every time we had a game day, he would just come home and not be able to talk for like the next 2 days.
Oh, my dad did that, but he was normal instead.
Yeah, he just screamed and screamed. Go right, Steven. Go right. Pass. Go left. Go right.
My dad is not good at sports, so he never tried to coach anything, but he was involved briefly with my Greek youth group, and that all kind of fell apart. wherein, bleep this out, wherein, got accused of hanging a dog.
Whoa.
And my dad, and somebody drew it on a basketball and left it somewhere. And my dad had it, and there was some sort of fight. And then my dad went and retrieved it and brought it in a big dramatic way and was like, what the fuck is this? But still a crazy thing. That was the most involved my dad was that I can remember.
My dad
and also they did volunteer the one time we did a blood drive in my high school where I passed out trying to give blood.
I pass out every time I give blood. And
I've never been able to do it successfully.
Me neither. And I made a joke the first time I tried to give blood. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's really funny. I see purple. And I was like zonked out.
I didn't even make it to the whatever. They were pricking my fingers still. Well, first of all, they had to prick it twice because they were like, you seem like your iron's low. And I was like, no, I just have thalassemia. So it looks like it's low, but it's just like they're very tiny. They're like petite red blood cells. I don't really have it, whatever. And they're like, oh, we'll just do it again. And then like she pricked another finger and started like milking my finger. And then I passed out.
Yeah.
Well, she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. And then I passed out.
Well, and now every time, this is like 3 times that I've passed out giving blood.
I was just regaling Marlo with how I have to do a whole thing to not get super woozy. I've had to have the smelling salts before at the doctor.
I have to talk to them about the weather or something.
I can't look at all. I have to do a breathing exercise.
I don't look. I look at something else in the room. I look at the doctor. I talk to him. I distract myself. I'm like, this is not happening. I can't see the blood. And
I look.
And you know what's even funnier is if I think about myself looking at myself getting blood, I pass out also.
I look directly at it and relish in the fact that my dirty, polluted body is having some of it removed.
I don't even like getting my blood pressure taken.
Okay, guys, you're making me feel like I'm going to pass out. I seriously think.
And with
all
that.
right, we're done, guys. It is. Oh, my God. No, we're way over time. So, yeah, we are super done.
Okay.
Cut a lot of this out. Okay, bye.
Bye.
In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows. Hides the face, lies the snake, and the sun in my disgrace. Boiling heat, summer stains, neath the black, the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come? Stuttering, cold and damp, still the warm and tired friend. Times are gone for honest men, and sometimes far too long for snakes. in my shoes, walking sleep, and my youth I pray to keep. Heaven sent hell away, and no one sings like you anymore. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Black hole sun, won't you come?